Welcome to a very special sort of edition of At Wits End Podcast.
Holiday edition, maybe? Bonus edition?
Literally none of those things make it special. It's special because there's only two of us, which would honestly make it less special, to be honest. So
Yeah.
see, I said to be honest twice. That's how you know I'm real.
I would argue that we've made it better. Addition through subtraction. That's a sports thing, right?
All right, look, that's not a real thing though. It's fake as heck.
It is.
Gee whiz.
Basically, it's the holidays. We're down our other two cohorts. So I guess we'll just hold down the fort today.
Yeah, so we're minus co-host and super producer. So we'll see how that goes.
Your mic won't get cut, though.
Yo, I can badmouth them all I want. Yo, you know what I don't like? I don't like furry animals. Forget that noise. That's all I post on Facebook, right? You know what? I don't like guitars either.
Oh,
ooh, guitars are terrible instruments.
You've gone too far.
That's fine. What's going to happen? They're going to cut my mic?
Not yet. No. You won't be able to talk for the next 3 episodes.
They're not doing any. Oh, well. They're not going to see. Oh, no. They probably don't watch these. I'm the only one who watches these. It's fine.
I mean,
okay, let's try it again. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who goes back and watches them.
No, I go back.
I guess he does because he looked at me like I was looking at him. That's
yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Met.
So let's have we'll do a couple different things today,
right.
but let's have a serious conversation because we,
serious like a heart attack.
I'm just saying, talking about movies and video games. That's all fine and dandy, but we'd be remiss if we didn't force people to confront uncomfortable topics.
Remiss. Okay. Not.
So today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about all the things about being black that black people don't like to talk about.
But I like being black.
Do you?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That's great. So
people think I can dance. People think I'm cool just walking down the street. Like as long as I don't look like I'm a homeless person.
You know, your beard is relatively trimmed and you got a haircut, so you don't. But I'd argue that some days you do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay.
You can't talk, boy. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I mean, I literally can talk, so.
The wife doesn't let you do that.
She doesn't. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about some of the things that black people don't like to talk about. So, for example, where does black culture, specifically in America, what actually is it? Because I feel like a lot of even black people in this country don't really know.
Are you going through an outline right now, or is this just the first thing?
It's just an outline.
Okay, go
just
for
a general synopsis of things we're going to attempt to discuss.
We'll see how it goes, man. I'm game.
So we'll talk about that because I feel like most people, when they think of black culture, only think of hip hop and sports.
We'll go from there. All right, yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Next bulletin point.
The other thing I want to mention, I don't know if you guys remember, but way back this year, Black Panther came out.
Yo, was that 2018?
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I thought it was 2017. That's crazy.
It does feel like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But Black Panther came out, and, I don't know about everyone else, but a lot of people dressed in traditional African clothing to go see that movie.
I've seen
under the guise of cosplay.
Oh,
I heard
for
people
real? Literally.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people compare it to dressing up to go see like Harry Potter, like dressing up like a wizard.
We'll see how it goes. Keep on.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about like at this point in American history, is black culture in America still closely enough related to African culture, or when we try to do that, are we actually appropriating as well?
Interesting.
Yes, it is. But I do want to talk about that. And then I do want to, if we get to it, this is really important to me, I want to talk about, as black people, are we a monolith or not? Because we really don't want to be seen as one.
You looked at the camera like that.
I mean, we really don't want to be seen as one, but we kind of want other black people to act black. It's like we don't want to be monolithic, but we want to be monolithic at the same time.
Pick and choose kind of thing. Okay.
Okay. And then way down at the bottom of the list, want to kind of talk about if religion actually has any effect on black culture. Wow. And then we can end.
Arguably the most important thing.
I mean, it is important. No, that was number 4.
I can count.
Number 5 is the trouble with handing out honorary black cards / saying something is not black.
Oh, should we start there?
I mean, we can.
Wait,
It's a good jumping off
because I
point.
gotta think what's the most, because like we have to talk about what black culture is, and then we can talk about honorary black cards. All right,
So let's start. Let's start
No,
with that.
we'll start with that one, right?
Yeah.
All right, read it again. Hit me with that.
The last question.
Yeah, we'll start there.
The trouble with handing out honorary black cards.
All right, yeah, cool. The trouble is that
They ain't black.
I guess it's connected honestly to the black as a monolith thing, because when you say you're honorary black or ghetto pass is what it was called back in the day, which is also
ghetto
insulting.
pass. Yes, it is.
Which is insulting when you think about it. Is that when you say that, you are automatically accepting and or assuming, if you're a black person, you're accepting it. If you're a white person, you're assuming it. That all black people act, or there's a certain acceptable way for black people to act. And when a white person or someone who isn't black does that, they are part of the fold and can be considered.
What bothers me about it, and I agree with you, what bothers me about it is that it seems that we as black people attach that to a lot of negative characteristics, negative in quotes here.
What's that?
For example, we had, like, people like to say that Bill
No. You say attach that. What do you mean?
attach a black card.
Okay.
So, for example, a lot of black people like to say that Bill Clinton was the first black president. But what is Bill Clinton most famous for?
Playing saxophone.
And
Being cool. This is my way of deflating the argument you're about to make.
no, I see.
Okay.
But I'm
you're
just saying.
getting a beige in the Oval Office.
Yes. Getting a beige in the Oval Office.
BEEJ, by the way.
Yes.
Or as many E's as you want, honestly.
When actually, I mean, if you really want to talk about it, a couple of the policies that he enacted, especially with, crime and punishment, kind of negatively and disproportionately affected black people and minorities.
War on drugs. That's probably.
I mean, I get politically why he went along with it, but he still did it.
That's fair.
Oh, thanks, phone.
Mad professional.
Oops. Let me just we can edit that out.
Fix it in post. That's fine.
But yeah, I think that's what bothers me about it is that it would be one thing if, for example, we handed out an honorary black card to people like, wow, you work really hard. And black people work really hard. Like, here's an honorary black card. Like, you care a lot about your family. And family's really important to black people.
I see where you're going with this.
That would be one thing.
Okay.
But I feel like we hand out black cards for dumb things or things that at least don't matter very often.
Yeah,
so
honestly,
wow, you're a white guy and you can play basketball really well. Have a black card.
And you talk like you graduated the 3rd grade. And only the 3rd grade.
Yeah,
Great job being African American.
oh, hey, white kid, you dance really well.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going with.
Yeah, right. It's stuff that isn't important, and that if we really wanted to look at it, most black people can't do either.
Yeah, but most black people are also willing to accept. Like, if every white person I ever met for the rest of my life thought I could just dance really well, and I never actually had to dance, okay. If every person I met just thought I was really cool and never had to do anything to actually be cool, okay.
I mean, that's cool.
That's me being really shallow.
I mean, look.
It's actually them being shallow too, but
I'd be lying if I said that I've never just gone with a stereotype, regardless of whether it was true or not. But the fact that, on the one hand, hey, don't profile us. We don't all do that. But then we want everybody to do that, including white people.
I mean, that's not really what they're saying, but because it's more like
It's the implication, though.
Well, see, the issue is you want all the positives that go along with your perceived race.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm black. I'm cooler than you. I know what's up.
People want to think that I have a big penis.
All right.
That's a thing.
That's fine.
I'm really good at athletic endeavors.
See, the difference is that the negatives are so much worse. Right? So the negatives of being black are like people are afraid of you, which you give or take. People are afraid of you.
You're
Cops
angry.
are. Well, I'm like saying you get profiled by police officers. There's perceived stereotypes and results of being black as opposed to things that are actually true. It's arguable. A lot of these are, but like things like that. But the negative ones are much worse than the positive ones are positive. Like, you can dance. You're super cool. Also, the police are coming in like 5 minutes. You should probably leave. You know.
Yeah, like what was it in the news? A guy got he was accosted by the police because he signed a check at a bank that was too big, or like he tried to deposit an amount of money that was too large.
I'm pretty sure that's probably not what happened.
I just remember that.
See, the issue is like with most of those articles, like here's the catalyst for a thing that happened, and then they just kind of cut to the
Gloss
end.
over, yeah.
So it's like, man beaten by cops for writing a check, and then it's like this is an example. I didn't read the story, so it might not be true, but it'd be something like, man beaten by cops for writing a check, and it's like, oh, we tried to write a check. The teller tried to stop him. He caught an attitude and smashed the window, and the cops beat him up. Granted, I'm exaggerating extremely. That's the kind of headlines we're getting.
That is
nowadays.
a pretty gross exaggeration there.
I mean, but that's my point. That's all I was trying to say.
But no, I understand what you
Trying
mean.
to illustrate.
No, I know what you mean.
Por ejemplo, sir. That's for example in Espanol.
You know what? I appreciate you trying to reach other listeners. Good job.
During the black episode.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Yeah, okay.
We don't want people to feel left out.
Of
so
course,
it's fine.
of course.
But to continue where we were going, so we'll
I
go
should
with
learn to
that.
speak Mandarin. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
We'll continue along that line of thinking about the monolithic thing.
Oh.
Something that always has bothered me is like me and you. We're brothers. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. So we grew up together. So I imagine you had to deal with this a little bit.
Maybe.
But somehow being smart or in AP classes in high school, and you're kind of in that weird, you're not black enough to hang with black people thing. And I don't really get that. So we want to be seen as individuals when it comes to society at large because we don't want to be stereotyped into negative things. But also we all have to listen to the same music. We all have to be into basketball and or football. We all have to know how to dance.
But remember,
you have to
dance
speak
the same dances though.
True.
Only like 3. Whatever
You have to speak a certain way. And then if you like other things like video games or movies, then you have to like the ones with the black people in it. And you can only play sports games and shooters. Do I have that about right?
And Grand Theft Auto. That counts as a shooter, I guess.
True.
So
I mean, what are we doing? What do we want to do? What do we want to be?
I mean, I guess first of all, it's a little different with kids at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, for kids, it's kind of neat.
Because I'll cycle back. I dealt with this when I was like in middle school. It was a thing.
Yeah.
Where all the black kids were like, because when I was in elementary school, I hung out with them because we lived near them. But when I was in middle school, we weren't in the same classes at all, ever.
Yeah.
Because I was smarter than them for the most part. So when I would see them, we weren't in the same classes. They would call me Oreo all the time, and it got to me in middle school. But then I'm like, at a certain point,
who cares?
Yeah, if you think that I'm not what I clearly am, because I'm smarter than you, or just I don't act like you. I'll stop saying smarter than you, because I don't act like you. Then that's a you problem.
Pretty much.
And clearly, we were never friends if that's the only reason you like me, because I look like you. So I got over it pretty quick.
I mean, yeah,
Well, at least in high school.
That's one thing, but I mean, it's just weird to me that society as a whole, black people just kind of want to be the same.
I think it's not necessarily wanting to be the same. See, I think the wanting to be the same thing, or what looks like them wanting to be the same, is really just the result of wanting to be separate.
Please explain.
Because I think that over the years, for whatever reason, black people have been separate, right? But then once we come together after or during the civil rights era, once segregation's over, we still want to carve out our own place in American culture and society, right? So I think that in our effort to do that, at least in recent history, in our efforts to do that, we have separated ourselves from the ultra of whatever the rest of American culture is, whatever you want to call it. And in doing that, we have this is ours. So everyone who looks like us is part of this. So when you don't participate in it, it's like you're spitting in the face of black people as a whole.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
I might be giving people way too much credit, but
no, I mean, I think, to be fair to you, I think part of that is correct, because I think there is this huge effort by black people as a whole to have our thing. And black people get very offended when other groups come and take something we perceive as ours.
Yeah.
Even though, if we were totally honest, we do the same thing to other groups.
Yeah, but we make it ours by changing it just a little bit.
So does everyone.
Oh, crap. No.
Oh, no.
I played myself. Whoa.
It's almost like
He's
that's
Egyptian,
how...
by the way, isn't he?
Who?
DJ Khaled. Isn't he Egyptian?
I think partly.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. That was irrelevant.
Actually part Middle Eastern. I'm just not sure what country.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's from the Middle East. Go ahead. That was irrelevant. Keep going.
I mean, but not. It's. First of all, can we just talk about cultural appropriation and what it actually is really quickly? Because I think that's important. I think that's important to continuing the conversation. Because to black people, it is very important to have our own thing, right?
Sure.
But just like everyone else in the world, we'll take something from another culture, twist it slightly, and then enjoy it in a different way.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
Which is what everyone does, because everyone culturally appropriates. The only thing is that...
Well, see, by your way, you mean culturally appropriates.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, like... Well, let's do it this way, right? I think there's cultural appropriation, and then over here there's cultural appreciation, right? Cultural appreciation is like, I watch anime, I respect the people who make anime, I enjoy it. I like to participate in it, but I do not assume that I am a part of it, if that makes sense.
Oh, black people got a big problem then. Because I see nothing but, like, there aren't enough people of color in anime.
An X thing.
I was like, wait, hang on, guys.
Yeah.
It's like half a black person in Japan. Chill.
Yeah, so it's like, to me, it's like, that's the difference. Like, I am not trying to say that, this is who I am. Like, no, this is something I enjoy. This is something I like to participate in. But, like, I don't create it. I'm not going to try to steal it and make it my own, if that makes sense.
Well, steal. Or steal, whichever.
Yeah, so cultural appropriation, I guess the most famous recent example, I can't remember her name. I don't think she's very relevant anymore. Hannah Montana. Can't remember her.
Miley Cyrus.
Thank you, Miley Cyrus.
I watch Disney Channel.
I guess she'd be the most famous recent example of somebody who tried to act and talk and pretend that, like, this is how I've always been. I've always been into hip hop and black culture.
Did that happen?
It did for quite a while.
Are you sure?
Where she kept trying to do hip hop songs.
Were they bad?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then I forget what happened that made her finally, like, switch.
No, Robin Thicke.
And she switched. That had something to do with it. But she switched really hard and was just like, no, I've never been into hip hop. They use too much derogatory. That was actually a big deal when it.
Did she ever say she's never been in hip hop?
She said she's never liked hip hop because it's too derogatory to women.
Okay, wait. So did she say? See, this is the problem because I don't know the things she said. So either. I
mean, I can look it up if you really want me
it's
to.
Not that it's not important. I just don't really.
But I think basically to continue down the path that I was going, I think the difference between appropriation and appreciation is how much you try to claim it's yours or that you've always been in it.
I'm not going to give you the second one.
That's fair.
But okay.
So I think that, one, black people don't like to acknowledge that we appropriate just as much as almost anyone else, if not more sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
Second, it is totally okay if other people enjoy the stuff that we make.
Yeah.
It's all right.
I agree.
Because here's the thing, they already do, probably more so than we do.
I mean, literally, yeah, because there's more of them.
Yeah, like, it's weird to me.
Most Lil Wayne's fans are white.
Let's not, because, okay.
Oh, I mean, is he still popular?
No.
Am I showing my age?
I don't know, man. Maybe. But it's just weird to me that, like, there are some black people that think that only black people made Black Panther a $1 billion movie.
Well, obviously, right?
Because 10% of America made Black Panther $600 million in America. That's how that works, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a black movie, so it must have only been black people.
that's fair. But black people came out for it.
I mean,
Why
they did.
That's why it did better. I think we.
Like that is fair to say.
Oh, it's not. I don't think so.
No, I'm saying that
I don't think so. That's a lie.
It's fair to say that Black Panther captured a lot of casual black moviegoers who otherwise wouldn't care.
Fair. But you can't say it was successful because black people went out to
No,
see it.
it was
That's
successful
probably not
because
true
it's
at
a Marvel movie and because it captured more casual people.
all. Yeah. The thing I think it happens with black people a lot, at least when people talk to black people about black people. I'll say black people one more time. Black people. Is they overinflate the impact that mass groups of black people can have on social changes. Like in politics, the black vote ain't that important.
Except in Mississippi.
It's not that important on like the national level.
Oh yeah, no. The state level is more important.
Yeah, because they're more local. They're closer together.
And they're a bigger proportion.
Yeah, we have neighborhoods full of black people.
Yeah.
So the black vote is more important the smaller you go. But on a national scale, voting your race isn't doing any good.
And isn't it weird? Isn't it weird that another weird this is
Oh, it's an aside, you guys. Get
I
ready.
don't know. I was going to mention, go back to the monolithic thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how widespread or prevalent this is throughout the country, but I know inevitably every time there's an election, I see a large amount of black people on social media doing that. Now, to be fair, social media is not a good representation of how many people in a certain group believe a thing.
Yeah, I think it's only 3 million people in America have Twitter.
Something like that.
It's actually, I'll check.
It seems like a lot because we report on it a lot and because Twitter is just loud and angry a lot. But inevitably, to go back to my point, every election you see large groups of black people on social media declare that they're not going to vote because voting doesn't change anything. When, like you just said, if you pay attention...
I'm sorry, I was super incorrect.
Oh, it's a lot more?
It's 70 million out of 300 million.
Okay.
330 million. 335 million.
Well, yeah.
It's actually 336
Some of those
million.
are kids, though. So,
I mean, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
it's a fraction.
right. But it's still like...
It's like a little more than a fifth.
It's such a weird monolithic thing to assume that just because we're black, our votes aren't going to get counted. Now, to be fair, that has happened in some places recently, whether by design specifically against black people or just aimed at districts that had.
I don't think that's what happened, but you know.
I mean, look, all I'm saying is
I'm not going to pretend there's no voter fraud, but I'm pretty sure it's not targeted.
there's various, well, and not in all cases, but in some cases it disproportionately targeted black people. We'll say it that
I
way.
mean, most of black people are poor, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, most of those black people were poor.
That's what I'm saying. It may have been aimed at poor people, but it affected mostly black people.
Yeah, but then the effect doesn't matter. Like,
I mean, it
it
does.
doesn't, but it doesn't make it.
But that's
it doesn't make it like if I was targeting poor people and it
Yeah.
affects most black people, that doesn't mean I was like, yo, we're gonna get these Negroes. That means I was like, we're gonna get these poor people. Oh, they happen to be black. Whatever.
No, I know.
Like, that's
I'm not
basically
saying that
that's-
it matters
hang
from
on.
the point of view of the politician. I'm saying that as the people affected,
Yeah,
I could see why they would
the
think
effect,
that.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if you can look at it that way and realize that if my intent is to disenfranchise poor people and that just happens to disenfranchise black people, saying that they're racist and trying to target anti-race stuff isn't gonna help. It's gonna do the opposite. It's gonna make them be like, I'm not racist. What are you talking about? And then they get defensive, and then you end up with Donald Trump. I skipped like a million steps in between. That's exactly what happens.
You pulled a Brian Regan, one thing led to another.
And Donald Trump.
But nah, it's interesting that in the places that black people want everyone to be the same, a large amount of it is kind of skewed negative, or at least it seems that way.
I would say, okay, we'll go through it right now because this will be more about black culture, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
I would say the overwhelming majority of what is considered black culture is negative.
Well, while we're here, what do you think black culture is?
I have difficulty telling you. That's why I said what people will say is black culture.
Yeah.
Which is why I wish this was live streamed because people would tell me and I could say, see what I mean? But unfortunately,
I mean-
someone's vacuuming.
Eventually, we'll get comments, right?
No, but here. So what I'll do is I'll start small and go wider.
So you're gonna start with the micro, and
Or
go
rather,
macro.
I'll start big and then go really small and then come back out.
Macro to micro. Let's do it.
And then in between. So overall,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, as far as we'll just do American culture, there are certain aspects of American culture that will just transcend whatever group we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? So
Everybody likes sports. Let's just.
well, no. I'm talking. I'll do more serious like values and stuff. Right?
Oh, okay.
Family is important to everyone, right? Or culturally speaking, right?
Yeah.
No cultural group is gonna be like, family's not that important, right?
The family unit is pretty much central to every culture.
Whatever that unit is, whether it's just like my mom's looked out for me when I was a kid,
My
she raised me.
grandparents.
Yeah, they raised me by themselves. My parents ain't nothing. Whatever it ends up being, you'll see where I'm going with this.
I mean, you're right.
Hang on. Whatever. Give me a second. Whatever it ends up being, family is really important, right? So then we go from group to group, and then we look at how do Black people interpret the importance of family. Well, it often manifests itself because something is broken, right? Like we were saying before, my grandparents raised me because my parents are something's wrong with them. They're gone, right?
Yeah.
My mom raised me by herself because
Whatever.
my pops is gone or something, right?
Yeah.
Now, but the reason behind that negativity, we can argue about it all day long. But the whole point is that it is a negative thing that has twisted something that is inherently positive.
But you can still tell family is important because if it wasn't, you wouldn't hear so many people complain when it's broken.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, so now I guess when I'm thinking about it, I will say that there are certain aspects in American culture as a whole that people are just like, family is good. This is a good thing. Loyalty to people is good. Being nice to people is good. Working hard is good, right?
I feel like some of those are twisted.
Literally what I was about to say. In the Black culture, it's twisted to become something greedy, something ugly, something negative. Right?
Just so a general aside, since you mentioned loyalty, I do not understand having loyalty to one city outside of voting or like working there.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't.
You pay taxes. You gotta.
Right. Like I want my city to be clean and operate in a way that like is positive and helps me.
Yeah, what's up with littering in Black people? I don't get it. But anyway, it literally doesn't make any sense. There'd be a garbage can at every bus stop, and somehow there's trash in the streets.
Didn't Baltimore City, I think a previous mayor, maybe before we were born, changed all the trash cans to look like basketball hoops specifically to get people to throw trash in them?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But continue your point.
So, like, if we go to something like loyalty. No, working hard. That's a little better, right?
Yeah. Well, look, man.
Inherently, there's nothing wrong with working hard.
You got to wake up and you got to rise and grind.
Yeah, see, and inherently, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, there's not.
Until you start getting this whole, like, get yours. Fuck everybody else. Granted, this isn't particularly unique to Black culture. There are aspects of other cultures that have that sort of screw
Me
over
first,
whoever. Yeah, me
fuck
first kind of
everybody else.
attitude. But it's so obvious in Black culture just because it's like
It's very pronounced.
it's like every song. It's like every story on TV, you know? And
There are some artists that have literally made a career of talking about nothing but that.
That's what I'm saying. So it ends up being a sort of like, I'm going to get mine. I'm doing whatever I can to do to get ahead. Like, the corporate people, like, this has been around forever. The corporate people do this all the time. The cutthroat sort of business, right? It exists.
But we
in
as Black
culture,
people
it's-
hate corporate
But I'm
people.
saying in Black culture, it's so much worse because just people die. Like, just like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get mine. I'm a drug dealer. I'm going to.
Was that a shank noise?
Yeah, I don't know what that was, guys. I'm sorry.
But it's so weird to me that people, on the one hand, glorify it when it comes to, I'm getting mine, rap and hip hop culture. But then if somebody is getting theirs, but it's a decision they don't like, for example, Travis Scott wanting to perform in the Super Bowl because he was invited. He's a famous Black performer right now.
Thank you for telling me because I didn't know any of that was.
I figured. Yeah. He's really hot right now.
Oh, he's so hot. Okay.
But he's really popular. Maroon 5 invited him to perform at the Super Bowl.
That's cool.
That is a huge deal for any performer. It's one of the top things you can do, right?
Not for long.
I mean, I'm just saying, couple 100 million eyeballs on you in one performance for like what, 40 minutes?
Yeah, Missy Elliott was famous for a year again.
Right. She came out of nowhere, and it wasn't even her performance. But Black people don't want him to do that because Black artists are protesting for Colin Kaepernick by not doing anything for the Super Bowl or not wanting to perform. So, weird protest aside.
That's okay.
Travis Scott is getting his, right? That's what we want him to do, right?
Yeah.
He's getting his. He's handling his business. He's making bread, as it were.
Well, you can stop right now.
I'm old. I'm sorry. But nah, he's doing what we would say is a good thing in any other song, but we don't like it because it's a decision that we disagree with, even though it's his business,
Well, I
right?
mean, he should just sell some drugs like the regular person does.
But nah.
Honestly,
But then on top of that,
elevate the community, dude.
but on top of that, like a sports franchise gets rid of your favorite player. Somebody at your business, like who owns the business, decides to liquidate assets and you lose your job. They're getting theirs, right? Isn't that what we want?
Yeah, and I think that's probably the difference is that at a certain point, aspects of black culture have been turned on their head to be turned inward, where it's just about me, right? The reason I don't like dads in general is because my dad sucks. The reason I don't like women in general is because my girl sucks. She's awful.
Or won't do whatever.
Yeah, she won't do. The reason men are trash is because the men I know are terrible.
Now, to be fair, this is not,
I did
again,
that on purpose.
No, it's fine.
But yeah.
But again, this is not unique to black people.
It's just,
We're talking about black people right now.
It's a thing
and
that
it is a
exists.
thing that is very prevalent.
Yeah, right. And I think that is probably at least one of the major issues in black culture is that we're really selfish now.
Yeah.
Like, granted, this is just a people problem in general.
In America.
Yeah, but it manifests itself culturally in a much more profound way, I think, in black culture than it does in other cultures.
True.
Like, say what you want about Asian people, but
They're in general not as selfish.
they make the most money out of everyone in the entire country. So,
Yeah.
is it Jews or Asians? I think it's actually just Asians.
I mean, actually, I think they're both up there, but from what I know about Jewish people, since I teach driving school and have a lot of Jewish students, they mostly pump their money right back into their own community via school, especially tuition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they don't keep those riches for very long.
There's a reason there are just Jewish neighborhoods, and they are always nice.
Yes, because they put their money immediately right back into it.
Fun fact, the funniest thing that I noticed when I was a kid was we lived on Park Heights, Northern Parkway.
Yeah,
right down
on
the
Northern
street from
Parkway.
Pimlico, right?
From the Pimlico racetrack, for those of you not in
and
Maryland.
the Pimlico Middle School, if you remember that. Flashback to whatever year that was, 1995. That's crazy.
There's an Easter egg for local people.
Yeah, but it's a African American neighborhood, right? So if I'm looking and I go,
Northern Parkway is the dividing line.
Yeah.
So if you go down Northern Parkway, if you go to the left on Park Heights, it begins a pretty thorough, like long Jewish neighborhood.
yeah, it's huge. It goes all the way up to 695.
Yeah, basically up
And
to the
further
county.
beyond, actually. Yeah.
Like a good healthy 10 miles.
Yeah.
That side of the neighborhood is pristine.
Yeah.
Like,
once there's the Pimlico school right there, and it kind of has to transition a little bit. But there's a Jewish community center right across the street.
It's been there for my entire life,
The difference is night and day.
and it looks it looks better than it did when I was little.
They renovated.
Yeah,
Like,
they built a
5
new one
years
across
ago.
the street, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you can tell they've put money in it. The families that have lived there tend to stay there.
Yeah.
And pump money right back into the neighborhood and into the schools and into developing the areas around the synagogues in that neighborhood.
There's a bunch of them, by the way.
Yeah.
As there are.
So it looks much better, right? In fact, like the property value there is actually much, much higher than if you were to make a right onto Park Heights. And you immediately run into liquor stores.
The first thing.
There's a
on
gas
the right-
station and a liquor store. Oh, the Psychic?
There's a psychic reading house right on the corner on the opposite side of the street.
Is that still open?
I don't know, but it's been there. The house is still
man.
there. And there's a 7-Eleven and then a gas station across the street.
And a liquor store.
And then everything else is just like, you're just in Baltimore City. The
Yeah,
difference is insane.
It's pretty rough. It goes, there's a gas station that's okay, a CVS next to that, and then you keep going.
Is there another gas station right there?
I don't know, but
Whatever.
I don't remember. But if you keep going, there's literally like the sidewalk gets more cracked.
There's more garbage on the street.
There's more garbage on the street.
Yep.
You pass. There's a library.
Is that on that street?
I think it's Enoch Pratt or something like that.
Oh, that's further down towards St. Ambrose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a library. There's not a drug clinic, but a drug recovery clinic, I think.
Really?
Yeah, like across the street from the library, actually.
Oh, well.
There's also a liquor store next to a daycare center.
Oh,
That's
there's
there.
also a crab joint that's across the street from
That
the racetrack.
Yeah, yeah. There's a crab joint, then a liquor store, then a daycare center.
No, daycare's on the center. Daycare I think is on the end.
Regardless,
Whatever.
they
The order
shouldn't
doesn't
be
matter.
on the same block.
The order doesn't matter.
And then as you go down, the houses are boarded up. The houses are also closer together. There's less space. There's people's lawns aren't mowed. It's just dirtier. There's a school that closed down.
Yeah.
It's nice for a second because there's a Catholic church.
I was about to say.
And then it gets immediately bad again as Park Heights turns into Liberty Heights, turns into North Avenue and like Mondawmin.
Yeah. And I think really the only difference is like the attitude we have is it changes from like let's make our community better to let's make
my house is good.
Let's make myself better. Because even then it goes...
Not even let's make myself better. Let's make myself look like I'm better, even though I'm not.
Well, that's a different aspect, but you understand what I mean at least.
Yeah.
Because...
A lot of people with navigators over there for some odd reason.
Nice looking car, man.
Just saying.
What I'm saying, like, at a certain point, it changes from making everything about where I am better to making the things that I can personally get, have, and be. Maybe not even be, but the things I can personally get and have better, right? So...
Now look, before you... Oh, go ahead.
That's fine.
I was going to say, to put out a quick disclaimer, this is not to down black people who like nice things.
I hate them. Oh,
right?
Mind. I love
because, look, let's be honest. It's really nice to get nice things.
True.
I very much enjoy my laptop. Could I have gotten a cheaper laptop and saved money? Definitely. But I wanted a nice one, right? Nothing wrong with that. The issue is... where somehow our culture somehow in a matter of maybe 50 years, 40 years, we've gone from like Black Panthers trying to create farms and literally defend sometimes with guns.
Yeah, say what you want about the Black Panthers
trying
and their
to
methods.
they're trying to create farms and create schools for the community they live in to it's all about how I can get mine or at least make it look like I got mine.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when that happened, when that started to happen.
I think it's a process.
If it's something that happened in my lifetime or before it.
It's probably gotten worse in our lifetime.
Definitely.
Just in general.
I blame the internet.
Yeah,
partly.
Yeah, that's fine. It makes certain things easier.
And things definitely travel faster.
Yeah, which is good and bad.
So
I would still argue mostly bad, but I'm a cynical old man, so.
I mean, no, that's fair. It's totally fine. But it's something it's just weird. And then now that we're here, let's contrast that to actual African culture.
Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, let's transition to that real quick.
Shamir was here.
Same.
Yeah.
We'll have to get his input because something that kind of bothered me a little bit, to go back to the Black Panther example, and for the record, that was a quick transition. We're going to talk about if Black culture matches up with African culture as much as Black Americans try to say it does. I think they can tell where I'm leaning on this.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It seems pretty
It was really interesting to me that people going to see the movie Black Panther thought that it was okay to wear traditional African clothing. First of all, do you think that was okay or no?
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
You think so?
Yeah.
I kind of don't.
Just closed it.
Or actually, to be fair,
yeah, I
think it would be okay, but I think it's hypocritical to say that I'm wearing this Black African garb because it's a character in a movie.
A fictional character.
But then you're not okay with white people doing it.
That's fair. It's just, all right, so the issue is, like we started off, we haven't talked about it yet, is I don't care about cultural appropriation or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, you want to wear any headdress? Cool. People going to call you a dick? Maybe. But you can still wear it, and I don't care. You want to wear, some African stuff? Sure, go ahead. You want to wear a wildebeest mask? Go ahead.
I mean, it's very similar to saying the N-word. You can say it if you want. Just depending on who you are, the consequences are going to be different.
Yeah, but even then, I'm like, the consequences for me, like, it's a word. Am I a nigger? By some definition, sure. Am I going to get offended? No. Am I going to get mad if someone wears African stuff? Is there a reason for me to? Like,
I mean, to be fair, I'm also not African.
No, what I should say is, like, I don't think there's anything inherently offensive about someone wearing clothes from another culture, no matter what the reason is. Well, okay, I guess if they're explicitly
If they're
trying
making
to,
fun of them.
explicitly, like, you know, but for the most part, I don't really think that exists nowadays.
Like
Even
outside
as
of
a
blackface.
like but even then, like we're at the point.
I mean, some
where,
people actually do blackface to be mean.
So you're doing a caricature of black people? I'm supposed to get mad? See, if look,
I mean, I'm saying
try
that
this,
is
like,
wrong.
If I know my history, right, which is what people say, right? Know your history, black people, right? Know it. A minstrel show is a white person dressing up as a black person in a mocking way, again, or in a way of to mock black people, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm an adult, which I am, and someone is mocking or trying to mock me in a way that is clearly a caricature, as an adult, I can say, that's not funny, and walk away. And then me, collectively with everyone else who realizes that there's not a grain of truth in this, will go, that's not funny. And then this person who's doing a minstrel show will be shunned because, one, it's rude, two, not funny. And then we move on with our lives.
See, but I think you forgot two things.
Probably.
One, it's 2018, and I have to react in the most outlandish way
you were
possible.
making a joke. Okay.
But two, to be a little bit more serious,
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that black people especially get offended, it goes back to what you said earlier. We want our own. Right?
Yeah, so when
for example, when somebody tries to say that cornrows are boxer braids, nah, because we created cornrows. We did that. That's ours. How dare you take that?
Which is fun fact, not even true.
I mean, literally, no.
I mean, braids in general date to different
Like
across
different
the world.
Yeah, different cultures came up with braids and similar.
Vikings did that, dude. Like, come on.
Right, yeah. It's not.
You'd be surprised how many things are not unique to most people.
Yeah.
And like, I think the ones.
I mean, I'd argue that
Hang on,
except for Europeans being slow about everything, most things came from a variety of places.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there are
world.
few and far between things that are just like so unique, where you're just like, oh yeah, that's just an Asian thing that happened, or that's just a black thing that happened. Like gunpowder. Yeah, there's not much you can say where it's like, no, everyone has a claim to the innovations of gunpowder. No, that's just a Chinese thing.
Yeah.
And that's a Far East Asian thing that you can't pretend that isn't true. But like cultural aspects, things that aren't scientific, where we can track where they came from. Cultural things in general, just like
like
spring up in multiple places.
A lot of people had braids at different times.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a really good way to keep hair out of your face.
It
You
is.
don't cut your hair.
Yeah. Oh man, we haven't thought to create a hair tie yet, so we'll just tie our hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scissors.
What? Yeah. So that's part of it. But
Yeah.
like you
We
mentioned
got way
earlier,
off, by the way.
I mean that's cool. Jokes are fun, but it's like because we perceive that thing as ours. Nah, you can't. No, it's ours. We're gonna defend it.
That's fair.
And I think that's where, like, you'll notice that.
Oh, I get it now. I think I understand
Yeah.
exactly an explanation for. So because since we're talking about what you said, like this is ours, right? If we're American, right? In general, our culture is pretty egocentric. That's not the right word I'm thinking of. I can't think of the right word.
It's a pretty good word, though.
I learned it in middle school. I can't remember.
Jingoistic.
No. Ethnocentric.
There you go.
Jeez. But in the American way of thinking, right? So we mainly think about ourselves in terms of like everything else in the world. How does it affect us as Americans?
We do.
So as Black Americans, since we're going off what you said, this is ours. This belongs to us. When we see Black history in terms of like African history, that's ours. No one else in America has claim to any of that, which is true for the most part.
Yeah,
right?
and to be fair, part of that is a
I'm saying,
history thing.
Yeah, this is where the whole being offended about other people wearing African garb or whatever, going to see Black Panther, because in America, that's ours. We're the closest to that, and that's true. No one can take that from us.
Yeah, but we're also not that.
So I think the difference is like I'll say we, even though I don't really care, but we recognize that we are closer to African culture than anyone else in America, which is true. But at the same time, we don't recognize that we're not that close to African culture.
Yeah, we're not.
By virtue of being, I don't know, about
separated from about
removed.
400 years. Yeah.
It's
Now
400
it's
years
like
of culture evolution.
it's like,
is
look,
completely
our
different.
ancestry may go back to Africa, depending on who we are.
Which is not that many people, actually.
I mean, yeah, you'd be surprised. Like
It's like 10% of the...
an acquaintance of mine who is very about being black. Like he did his chromosome test and everything to find his ancestry. He's like 15% white, and he was shocked. He was like, "Yeah, you're." He was like, "You're."
That's shocking. All right.
His grandfather was like half white or something ridiculous. So he's like part European.
Cried about it.
I mean, not cried, but he was disappointed.
Okay.
Look, I don't know, but it's like,
Sorry.
how do you? I guess it's hard to think about because, on the one hand, slavery everything goes back to slavery in America for some reason. But anyway,
I mean, that's not even unfair to say. It's a pretty important aspect of American culture.
that
American history.
America really doesn't want to just like sit on the table and unpack.
Can't even say America. I'm pretty sure the best way to handle it is to get over it.
I mean, I really feel like, just a general aside, I feel like we should do what Germany did with the Holocaust.
Oh, you mean because like, hey, this happened, this was bad, let's not do it again?
Yeah.
And then not do it again?
Where like Germany's like, look, we did this. I think they finished paying off the debt for it as well.
Yeah.
I think that happened a few years ago.
Yeah, we don't really have any debt from slavery. Well, tangible debt.
But it's like they literally like, look, hey guys, this happened. We teach this in school that we did this as a country.
We do that, by the way.
Not saying America doesn't. I'm just
No, people forget a lot of... Keep going. We'll talk about it later.
like Germany says that they did it. They teach that they did it in school. There are still museums where they show, hey, we did it. We don't want to do it again. And they also made it, if you're a Nazi, it's illegal.
Yeah, that one is technically, unconstitutional as far as America's concerned, but I understand.
In America, yeah, that'd be unconstitutional. But it's like, nah, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And that it's been that way for quite a while. America, on the other hand, just made lynching a federal crime 3 days ago.
See, the issue is, what is lynching? I'll be specific with this one. What is lynching?
I mean, as far as I'm aware, lynching is hanging someone.
Nope.
But go for it.
Lynching is literally just an execution without a trial.
Oh.
So, since that's literally what it means, the most people who have been lynched in American history are white in the Old West when they get hung before the circuit judge makes it out to them. So, fun fact for people who care. Granted, it's not really relevant, but you understand what I mean.
History is interesting.
Yeah. I learned that one in 10th grade.
But yeah, I think that just black people assume that we are closest to African culture or that we are African culture.
No, we are
Because
assume
we
we're
don't-
closest, but we assume that also means we are the same.
Yeah, because we don't really know.
That's fair.
Like, we don't have, like, it's not like we're like Japanese people who may have either come over here or been moved over here in internment camps during World War II. Or World War I.
They weren't moved over here.
Well, they weren't moved, but I'm saying it's not like them where, they have a clear tie. They know where they came from. There's a country full of them, if that makes sense in a weird way.
You say it's weirdly.
So it's like, they have clearly defined roots and they know where those roots are. So like when they say, hey, this thing is for me, it's more definitive because they can trace it back relatively easily.
Plus, it hasn't even been 100 years. So.
Right. For us, it's like, it's been like literal centuries. Even once we got here, then we got shuffled around even more because of the slave trade in the country or with the Caribbean. So it's like, we don't know. We might be African. We might be Caribbean. Might be European. Might have just,
that's fair.
Might have just been here already.
That's probably not true, but I understand.
Not as true, but
I get it.
like, I mean, we're part Native American.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand.
So it's like we could have been from anywhere. So what is our culture? They call us African American, so it must be African.
All right, that's fair. I get it.
I'm just saying from a super basic point of view.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, what else do you have to go on? So I get it from that point of view, but also we're not African.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that us, like, if you're gonna say that white people doing XYZ that black people have created in this country is cultural appropriation than us doing, something from Ghana, for example, is probably just as much cultural
That's the
appropriation.
funniest part, because when you consider it, all the different countries in Africa different from each other.
Pretty much.
And we
kind of treat them as one thing.
We've been doing it today. We just say Africa, and we just mean the whole thing.
Yeah, but they're radically different.
So different than each other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
and then even then, what trips me out is that one, African countries are wildly different, and then the people in those countries are wildly different as well.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me African people act the same? You're gonna tell me Trevor Noah?
Each other. Okay.
You're gonna tell me Trevor Noah acts like a typical African?
I don't in America.
I'm not sure, but I know he spent most of his childhood in South Africa.
That was getting off on a tangent, but yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, isn't there a grandmaster of chess that came from an African country?
Probably more than one, honestly.
I mean, Disney made a movie about it. To be fair, that's the only reason I know that. It was a decent movie.
I remember the Titans probably.
Yeah, Lupita Nyong'o was in that.
Chiquita Banana?
Oh, God.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said anything on air, dude.
I mean, it's fine. But I'm just saying, like, even in the movie Black Panther, not everybody was African.
It's actually funny because it's another.
The main two characters are from California and South Carolina.
Yeah, that's true.
One of them played James Brown and Jackie Robinson.
Well, since one of the catalysts for this discussion has been Black Panther, it's just something that I just want to talk about real quick.
Are you going to say that just because black people did it doesn't automatically make it the best?
Oh, yeah. And it's like a threefold thing to say because
Black Panther doesn't belong in the conversation for Best Picture.
True. But that's not where I was going. Because it starts when the movie came out. You remember those promotional picture images and stuff where you see Wakanda for the first time and all these people just kind of was like, this is what Africa could be like without white people or whatever, right?
I mean, if we're really going to get into that, yes, I remember that. Two, even Wakanda, outside of the capital city where the throne room is, it's still pretty rural.
Yeah, they just have like good technology.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the border tribe still lives in a hut, guys.
Yeah, I get it. But what I was going to say was, I feel like we'll go back to what you're saying where we look at it, even though it's not me, we look at it and say, "Oh, this thing that black people did it's cool. It looks good,
so it must be. So it is good.
Be good." And we just ignore everything else that isn't that great, right?
Cough, cough. Tyler Perry.
Well, hang on, because we do it in general with like our athletes and famous people, right? Where they're the first black people to do something, but they weren't amazing, right?
Or they weren't good people.
Yeah, like people. Like, I know people who are older than me who still talk about Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton like they're the best thing since sliced bread, right? You don't get to cheat on your wife more than 0 times and be like, yeah, I'm great.
Are you going to talk about the black people who still, even after a court trial, think that Bill Cosby was set up?
Stuff like that, right? And then I brought up Wakanda because people elevate it so high for being a crappy fictional country. But you consider, for all the technology that they have, they are literally the most racist place on the planet.
I mean, yeah.
Like, more so than pretty much anything you could possibly, like, short of slavery and genocide, I think that, which is saying, short of Nazi Germany and pre-Civil War America.
Or like Stalin or Russia.
Yeah, those places, it's a pretty racist place. Just up until whatever year it was in that movie, which is what, 2017?
18.
Well...
It's weird, isn't it?
But you know what I'm saying? Like, there are so many negative things about how racist they are, how xenophobic they are to other black people. And we just kind of ignore it because we think this movie was made for black people and by black people. So we just assume it's good and ignore all the things that are bad. And we do it with our celebrities. We don't hold them accountable for things they do. Like, look at these, what's their names? Fucking, excuse my language, Offset and whatever her name is.
Oh, Cardi B and Offset.
I'm mad I remembered his name before I remembered hers. It's kind of sad. But like, so many people are rushing to excuse his terrible behavior when a regular person would just go.
Because, quote, he's a black man, he provides, and he's a good dad.
Or something like that. I don't know. But whatever it is,
we're
so quick to try to excuse black people for terrible behavior because they're black. Like, hey, is Obama the best president we've ever had? No, not even close.
Look, I'm not going to say he's the best president we've ever had. He was good. He was effective for what he had
That
to
is an
deal
argument
with.
we can make. That's fine.
He was effective for what he had to deal with. But he still did drone strike Syria like into the Stone Age for the last 4 years of his presidency.
He did. He tried to make
And
a deal with
also-
Iran on a hot mic.
Right. And
Like,
also,
we weren't paying attention. Like,
he
come on,
was
dude.
very much hamstrung by the fact that like Congress wouldn't work with him. And like part of being an effective president is getting people to work with you. And he didn't
Yeah,
for a large chunk of it.
fine.
So it was like, yes, he was good.
That really wasn't the point of my argument.
No, I know, but
We
I'm
started
just-
talking about Obama.
But on the other hand, he still did things for people that helped. Because some of the things he did affected black people just like they affected everybody else. Sorry, he couldn't do.
It's not really where I was going.
No,
with
I'm
that.
just saying it bothers me that people say Barack Obama didn't do anything for black people as though he was supposed to do anything specifically for black people.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For the most part, there aren't any racial. That's not really what I was saying, but it's what I'm saying now, because we're changing gears real quick.
Yeah.
But because my point was done, that they understood what I meant. But as far as like creating a separate category, for the most part, race doesn't really play a part into the way most people think.
No.
In general, like, or I shouldn't say think. I should say the most way they handle situations, right? So like, if I'm a government official, it's very ineffective for me to try to make a policy based on race, because
Race people
Go ahead.
aren't like, yes, individual neighborhoods are somewhat segregated, but for the most part, people are so spread out that you like, how would you do that?
Yeah, at least-
without admitting that you did it.
yeah, which is racist, by the way. So at
But
a certain
yes,
point,
I don't
like there are certain strata you can use to divide people that are much more useful and effective, and people do this to institute a change. Like
Money.
dividing people based on their economic income is much more effective way to discriminate against people than anything else. Literally anything else, at least nowadays. In the 40s, race was obviously up there because Jim Crow was still allowed, right? Nowadays, the best way I can be like, all right, cool, I don't want poor people to do anything, I'll just put a tax on it.
Yeah, but no,
It's a different topic. You're right.
Well, I was gonna say before we get into that, like let's take another like 2 minutes. We'll wrap it up with this topic, right? So I think the religion thing we should come back to because religion's a really big topic in and of itself.
Yeah, we could have talked about that.
But I just want to mention like the last monolithic thing that black people do that I don't like.
See, look, now the podcasters are like, you know what I don't like about black people? You know what really grinds my gears about those
Nah,
Negroes?
but it goes to our earlier point of we tend to attribute some of our more monolithic aspects of blackness to negativity. We really, to your point, we really cape for black people when they do a bad thing. And I don't want you to think that this is all not connected because it is very connected. Part of the reason we do that, again, that black celebrity is ours.
Oh, he's one of us.
He represents us. He's one of
fair.
us.
Yeah.
Like one of us made it.
Yeah, white people don't do that.
They don't.
Interesting.
Nah.
Actually, I should say,
What's his name?
majority
Mel.
groups in general don't do
What's
that.
his name? Mel Gibson. Nah, fuck that dude. White people are done with Mel Gibson.
Yeah, because
Like, nah. We're sorry.
so would you
Same thing
say-
happened with
Kramer?
what was his name? The Me Too guy, the first guy that got caught, Weinstein.
Oh, I was like, what?
Yeah, nah. He got caught, and like it took a second for him to actually get a punishment. But once people verified that, nah, we're done.
Yeah, but
We'll find some other
there's
white
a
guy
lot
to like.
that goes into that.
I mean, there is.
I think in that specific case. But I would say that I think the difference is that I don't even think this is true. But I would say the argument that is put forth is that when you have more options, it's easier to get rid of an option that's bad.
Yeah.
So if we were to treat celebrities saying you pick and choose them, which ones you like, which ones are good or whatever, and you say there are 30,000, let's try it again. There are 30 white people. I'll just make it small.
And only 6 black people.
And 6 black people.
Yeah.
Right? When one of those black people does something bad, I don't want it to be true because there's only 5 other ones. You know? I don't think we have that problem nowadays in America. There are tons of celebrities to choose from of all
I mean, to
shapes and
be
sizes.
fair though, it's just like
Stripes and creeds and whatnot. But
I'm gonna say this, probably gonna regret it.
oh, hip hop artists are a dime a dozen, so it doesn't count. But yeah.
But nah, I was just gonna say like, how many wholesome or family-friendly black celebrities.
Ice Cube. Circa 5 years ago.
Now.
Or whenever Are We Done Yet came out.
Yeah, like now he is. But I mean, like, they pulling up tweets from Kevin Hart from 10 years ago. You telling me people don't like, nah, Ice Cube's really cool, but they don't pull up NWA albums?
That's a good point.
Just saying.
What's the difference?
Like Will Smith, I would argue, is one.
No, hang on. Like,
Oh, but what's the difference between the tweet and him literally rapping "fuck the police"?
well, the overall narrative in the country right now is "fuck the police," so until that changes, he can get away with that.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't really know the difference, to be honest.
I could think of one, and it would come up like I'm one of them Hotep dudes.
Yeah, let's not. I think on that note, we should.
Out in a basement.
On that note, we should go ahead and end the episode.
Oh man! Oh wait, we don't have a conclusion though.
I mean,
just complaining. Let's
all right.
Look,
honestly, I kind of want to get some feedback, right? So this is a really important topic. I honestly want to come back to it, especially when our whole outfit is here,
so they can rein you in.
Yeah, probably. But like I said, it's an
important
conversation because these are things that, like, yes, we skewed negative a lot today, right? There are positive things to talk about too.
Hang on, real quick. See, that was because I just want to get to this because I think I talked about it earlier. Is that there are obviously positive things about black culture, but I did preface my first thing I said with I think it's overall incredibly negative.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to say that family isn't important. It's just how we do it in the black community is not good. It's not a positive way to interpret the value or demonstrating the value of family. We do it terribly, in my opinion.
Pretty much.
So it's not to say that, black people are bad. I just think certain areas of black culture are not productive.
Like any culture, we have negative aspects to us that we don't like to address. Mm-hmm. And so this podcast was kind of like, let's address some of those.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
It makes you feel less bad.
That's all. So, look, this isn't to down people. If you fall under a category of doing some of the things we talked about, it's cool, whatever. Just
because honestly, it's not toxic until it hits
analyze yourself.
Oh my God.
I mean,
self-help.
Real talk though. People don't think enough about hey, what did I do to contribute to this bad situation?
Oh, that's fair.
That's an American thing.
That's another
where
topic,
we blame the other person immediately instead of hey, what did I do?
Yeah, that's another topic.
Would have stopped America from getting in so many wars, but
I doubt it.
Regardless, black people are dope. Just we got issues too that we should talk about
instead of pretending they don't exist and blaming other people for them.
Right. So hopefully, this kind of was the first step. And then we'll come back and do this later.
Yeah, if we don't have a show in 2 weeks, you know what happened to us. Well, actually, I guess there would be a show. It would just be Ryan here.
By himself.
And then Jason just behind the camera.
Yeah, so thanks for listening. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that.
Well, you got to do the sign-off, the whole thing.
Yeah, so this is Steve, my co-host.
You messing up, dude.
And we'll see you on...
You messing up. You got socials, bro.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, go to our Facebook page.
He didn't know what I was talking
about. Man. Look, just, okay, at @witsend -AWE on Facebook.
Okay.
Same thing on YouTube.
All right.
And guess what?
Yeah.
We have Instagram and Twitter now.
Oh, we actually have a Twitter?
We do. And it's those same, you know what? Honestly, I forgot the tags because I literally just created it. So we'll edit that in. Just look in the description. They'll be there.
I think they call it the doobly-doo nowadays.
Yeah. Just check the description. They'll be there. Join us next time at @witsend.
Oh, man.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Enjoy your Kwanzaa if you're into that.
Day after Christmas.